Chaibland. Curran Tom Markham is Shahan Duish. Agus the Noor Yeranach ag Fuyochtiag, Siad Kerry, agus Dera a Chasn Erichéla, ag Lehacanish na Minúr.
Agus yo het Kieran O'Moyle agus an treban ag Tevis Digda, Kieran O'Moyle ag a fóil, a sé geag a fóil, búltist a
Wiltige Michael, en Joe Table live in the ship. Agus Sora Hishtig, son, get Warwick Joyce, Warwick, and get it sneaking of the hay, and at the end of it, he's there, the Fullerson, Warwick Joyce and Yellow Boy get. Agus Curry and Warwick Joyce. Stachar is Johnny Behan and son, agus Wiltige Stachar Joe, good desk of the Aidan Lynch is Stachar chance and hole, agus goal and son of the old Mulligan. Agus on a hole the heroine. Ruscamán a ríiste gáilisteach Keith Waldron built a trust na sagadí Donald Shine Donald a go poor temple bull in a gáilisteach agus áfáid the pressing a Ruscamán Donald Shine Déanna Chatúig Stachan sagadí Niall McKenna Niall passáil na gáilisteach sí ní tíiste go fóil amach le Dundalab an san skippa hir an Dalab Kieran Gervin anna éireach ach seachún mayo Went to get in no shake, when she Hanisteach, why she pass her Nash to the gate and fay, Lena Catoig, went to Stach and John Howland of Queen to get in no shade. Anna Cal.
So Cormac Costello, Lon Tossach, Tosha Branimers Brook, Toshi Butch, or the Costello Butch like a hauling, like a Lon Tossach.
Well, big Suila, na Tira, agus an Dow Canisha ná go bhfuil cluiche atá Harveh town buaite ag Deireadh. Chá cheannacha, níor bheith cúlín amháin idir rítain agus an frasúra, ach mar champaráid sin, bhí a laiad degúlín de Arasport ag Kerry gach irinne im riadar na naig suas godíise. So an míbhantáiste é sin dóibh churmar cheist Peter Keane Bannisteoir na Forna.
Well, I suppose, look, Michal, you can only play what's in front of you. I wouldn't totally agree with you that it wasn't that comfortable against Cavan. We went through a sticky patch in the middle of the second half and we battled back out of it. I think we went from 13 up. They brought it down to 5 up, you know, so, but we battled back. We are meeting a very, very good Derry team. Again, like I said, Dave had very, very good big winning margins and their victories along the way too. So it's hard to know, is it good for them or good for us?
So do you expect a different challenge, maybe a challenge you haven't met from any of the teams up until now?
Well, I suppose, Michal, look, every day you go out, you know you're going to meet a different challenge. What will they bring? We won't know until we get into it. We've prepared as best we can for all the eventualities that we foresee happening, and after that we'll just take it as it goes.
Has the 4 in a row been spoken about much?
No. Like I've said to you numerous times in the past, I have plenty of fellas inside in that dressing room who've no All-Ireland medal. They're grasping here to get a hold of one today, so 3 or 4 before them doesn't have no bearing on them.
I don't want to single out one player, but everybody's talking about David Clifford and what plan Derry might have for him. Can you give us some insight on how you must have planned and must have spent plenty of nights planning for this?
Yeah, look, we planned for the whole Kerry side. It's they have 15 class players and David's part of that team, and as I say, he is a team player first and foremost, and that's probably what makes him particularly good. He's not just about the individual. So, look, we'll have to overall as a team cope with that threat. It's not just about our defence or the one man who's marking him, you know. So, look, we have to take our own game to it, and hopefully that's enough to deprive him of enough possession, you know.
I suppose the focus has been on Kerry, the kings of this competition in recent years, going for an unprecedented 4 in a row. It gives your lads a chance to come a little bit under the radar, and lads can be settled. That can help, I suppose. Do you feel that guys are nice and relaxed coming into the final?
Yeah, we do. Even we sort of knew that at the final whistle, and once we beat Dublin, like having beat Dublin in front of their home supporters in the semi-final and coming into that final not favourites is probably fairly unique in the modern game. But it was Kerry that was waiting, so it probably leaves us in a really good position coming into the final. There's no needing to manage the guys' mindsets or anything like that. They knew the challenges ahead of them here today and the work that had to be done in the 3 weeks in between time, so they've been really good like that all year and they were no different for this match.
Cuma soccer galore an dá heh attack the Stach Adin Glithe Canistran on the Schlach Neil, and thanks for coming down to us again, Chrissy, to have a chat. Derry, how confident are you?
I'm relatively confident. I think it's a really good Derry side. They're here in merit, obviously, but it's going to come down to today, in my opinion, how they deal with the threat of David Clifford. He's the word on everyone's lips. He's an exceptional talent, and he's been Kerry's most potent scorer this year so far. So big ask.
Conor McCluskey is the man we reckon is going to mark him. You've seen him play. Will he be up to the task?
I'd be very impressed with Conor McCluskey as a man marker. Very, very tough and very, very tight, you know. But I don't know if there's anyone in the country at the minute at this age that can go toe-to-toe with David Clifford. I'm just not convinced about that. But I think Damien McAlean might have to, you know, drop someone back in front of Clifford now and again, because the space in the Dublin game was just, you know, just too much.
Martin Bradley is a change today. He came on the last day for Simon McAlean, who plays in the half-back line. He's playing in the half-forward line. We might see him back there. But I just want to ask you, the type of player that McCluskey is, we see often a lot of loose marking at the minor grade. The likes of Clifford gets plenty of space. Will McCluskey ask Clifford questions that maybe he hasn't been asked and stick tighter to them than maybe other defenders have?
Well, one thing about Conor McCluskey is he's just focused on the man. He's not going to go bombing up the field or anything like that. He's just going to stick on David Clifford, I would have thought. And irrespective of where David Clifford goes, I think Conor's going to follow him. And I don't think that Clifford's maybe met anyone as tough as Conor McCluskey this year. But in saying that, David Clifford has to be given the respect that he deserves. He's the best miner in the country by a mile. So it's going to be a huge ask. Can they nullify him?
OK, we can't make this a two-man game, so we have to speak more broadly. The two McWilliams brothers, and I suppose this confidence that the Derry team have imbued in themselves, beating a good Dublin side in the semi-final, coming back from being out of the competition against Sligo in the quarter-final, that'll help build team spirit.
There's nothing builds team spirit like tough, tight championship games, and Derry have been in a few this year. But Derry, you know, like you talk about Oisin McWilliams and Larkin up front, they have a great understanding with each other. They're twin brothers and they're two very natural footballers. But Derry this year have to back themselves, and they have to go with what's worked. And they've won at teams and they've scored heavily. Today they had to do the same.
I want to ask you briefly about the senior game. A lot of people, the neutrals, probably the Derry people among.
All in agus tas no mit lefern Kerry marsin glacklash stoch gebeg in the Humberside in Goulbar David Joses agus in little land goed Chinese fair nup na man vin la dernach agus job mo le den go hard here Chris O'Donoghue agus ele Lorcan McWilliams land tas e gure Beg comes Paddy Quigg took a fanara Egnoil Donoghue as beg Michael Pats idir no rohid hierige a yinen dire a stop a Larsley Alarna Park at Diomede O'Connor got to the Chatter, a hosting Nudig, Sucklay Gunny, Agase Brock, no Sucklay, Canish Picatamara, Agase Brock comes on the Lord Park, Marmig Adam Donoghue, Lesh Bader, a Cowdoolish effects Gav. Canned out. She David Clifford and Captain, Agus and Kina, Snatossa, Agus Beg plan to get there, Condoling Leckle shoot. Ach, Tyler Heady Ronald Sullivan, Agus Brian Friel, Don Cherry Homa, Agus Bedegamach Breast Bosch in Uvuka. She Jack Griffin, and out Ronacha O'Sullivan on 10 Aruga Kiri. Nish vi Cosdori Rede, Ausachlai, like Anish Garde, and Lin Lachu, Lanchu, because the Stoker Bay, Conor McCluskey, Mark Plastic of David Clifford. Padraig McGrogan sé siúd captain, Christian the Farna Choma, agus Dimmer sé féin McCluskey agus Simon McAlean a gwnni Chiari yn ydig. Nys ta Oisin McWilliams agus Dara Raffertinson har a fe lauder as a tri an lord. Agus ta tosa heco a churig síle Chiari, Paddy Quigg a Glihan, agus Richie Mon and Larsley is Stuart Coursey. Sé Martin Bradley and out Orden Quinn and 10 arrow get dire, agus she had Ben McCarran agus Larkin McWilliams na fear of stig. Dientra Chiari hostile, le cúpla ceann ard isteach son I déiring luasach lethe.
Carcalor, well, Peter Keane, our job by Yenavig left for an old Chiari, and so Tantacho Fada Lishik Lehe Canish, agus Deathon Rud, Canon Cairna Arafi, Damien Mackerlane, agus.
Rian Chachoin, agus Kevig Kiliora, Chiari den Gugu Bout Diog, no. Dere den Gugu Bout the Rev, and fell Kaitan Ard again Anthony Nolan, agus an Ard let Diomede O'Connor. Brishan a Perelesh, fight to get Shudach, McWilliams, Lordach, Savalach, Shud, Short Stachan Sanish, Agus Clifford, Tustin, Stiggers top, Violon, Lordach, the Red Agus, Shanser, Hole again, David Clifford, Agus Kata, Katja, 10 second, no Marshin, Do Trete, Agus and I know, the Blanana Erfads, Maradud, Chris McCaig, will Ingus a teed, a yet the smacht the Hord Anniversa. A dull the shell of Glanagal douchach mar a chroich chance boss gan ein do fan speed. Well, Quail Hanske captured gemach party gelte hot topic sonaka agus do cap manaman and Felsen of Wochtend. Fast in a Parkinson of Adele Oisin McWilliams reached Nish Deshige scored Butchitach agus Shin score alling agus Bechert go sucroch son season is shit.
agus táhachtach gan ar sa bhríon a níon coolú ó chéirí bhí dara rudaig an dhéanamh sin scór úntaach an sin.
Kerry an Oscarton híocha seánis dúir teachta náthúir Connet McShane a rás chan céan san na stáil amach. Well, dúir descadaíocht a ge Kerry agus tíoach dúir inis a bheith Oscarton dá bheile dúir cúgardíag ar chuigardíag fanna feachtas ar fad daoine a túr go méid gan na haródíiste ar bheile Clifford ach níle treis arú fiú agus cool feitige. Trastan na Parkinson. Búirtisteach an Ord an son agus Ord agus Crane mar a Harlínse a get Donal O'Sullivan na stáilm.
Scór eile álín an sin ó O'Sullivan. Crothe a ríist ag Clifford agus éar gimmert ar mna Carnoga mar a hílmuid ach a ríist eile deire gol gob ar gob agus sna canilecha mar atá siad a bhríon tá siad ag dulta chance mar fagan si sin go leor spáis os a chorann sin tá si brabal a scór hí an aimisiú mar a honnamuid agus níis abaldéad a crothe fásta.
Kick amach tóca agus lechar in os go des. Dúide a dhéanamh gomach an son. Sean fear nuaistig Bradley agus daoine a cheapcanach sé níos a híos siar féin barc agus is well tá chumarscé go sé a láir jacarde. Jack Griffin a bhí mar lechúlaí a gceith cláiste bhríanana nuair a bhd a chuirnaí ó gáin am líana. Friel. Siarn soch a fad le fiachra Clifford a chun flocáil agus bhí son leis le fiscin mar bhua geadúire sa chléir le cheanis. Friel má tá cheasíocht a gceisiúd agus cruinnes lena chuis.
Agus me caiinsle iad me gáir rivan clé dúirte go raibh Anna Lewis ar fad sa lína lan chúil sin a Kerry thosaí sin le Seán O'Leary ag briseú amach mar eicimiid an blocail a ríist ach a ríist eile é ach cuairsaile agus scór.
Fescial é seachún dúiris gan éon rion fós print an bherstal Mark McGrogan ach sé á rion fachan is gar chusaí Pete Anias.
Chuid Anias ar fad ó McGrogan bhí siad fáineach thóg siad céim ar chéimeann sin agus díreach ag an second ceart pás jazz a seach cheontaí séir a chetóg agus chuir sin go mór leis an campa ar mar go dtí seo bhíon caiithú rá go bhfuil siad faoi bhrú go bhfuil an cluthe oscail.
Fáine David is Josas agus platún dianta san agus tá Josas tá go amachta líne tá fellhar sin trastáin agus a bheith McGrogan a ríist a fuair sin. Ach bhí le Hanson an chúl.
Bhí le Hanson ar fuair sé an líráid ar bhrisé agus a ríis obair na gapal deanta ag na tosaí a gara an sin agus an cool baire muoi ach beidir go nearna sé an rud céalar an rud ceart iad a thocrú síos agus an darna sa chluthe.
Agus brise fáilte go Richie Mullen. Tá cuíochtaige Conor McShane agus tá Gareth sa bhersa a dul chun céin. Stechan agus Mac Williams an chiadreach a geisiúd ar na cuailí agus Harris an Vastáin a ríist. Tá tíidir chrecin ag an níl lá tosaigh seo.
Ja, bommate Harvey táhad a gara trí chuilinn tíomh tíad a bhomate bhhain agus a rééis an far sin Lorcan McWilliams bhí meid garcar an réomháin leis tá sé bra chumbardú ar an dáchos tiontaíonn sé an tam seir a chetóg ddíreachar an trasnain scórínta eile a gara.
Tá Kerry inis go bhfuil siad a gluthe agus a gach ceartan sa fíocha Clifford. Feite Friel inis. Tá Rafferty chuide a rá siar an déobhsach an barc chun cúna bhút dus na cúlathe tá sé ag go chúinis agus seachún Clifford Rafferty teachtach meach bet go bog á sára go díanaige hartan. Héinge tróna go leor den talamh feite geisiúd búirteach an cín an sáinis agus seoteach go Donal O'Sullivan Clifford a gramach an boutatá a chéile córaach tá Clifford teis Ialún san agus teisiil ar chúlaige más féidir an bhróige chaimh le seo. Well fuair se cúna bliana ag níomhanig san cúna bliana amach ach cúla le sé.
Dáchreist ar fad go dé tal rágaí ná bhfuil ráte haine féin láidir buntáiste tuga ag an réiteir leanan sé ra tiontaíonn sé is tí agus ag buint úsáid as an neart chuilbeir ag teach amach agus leis an dhéirseó tá sé abalta é a chláinú is Jack sa líontan agus críoch ionach eile ó Clifford a réist eile caithí tú adhhail go bhfuil deire crógus a chléthe seo go
bhfuil David Clifford gan éon chairige agus tá spás mór grí os chóir Clifford amach agus seachún na Kerry go ríist níis an ruúthar déanta ge Clifford. Fiechan Keha Glushach agus pass on and Hopad le Clifford ele Fiechan bout the saw. Fiechan Clifford I Fiechan no go hall and Achan Lergus again Vachale.
Well, Allah has the Ragro, Kerry every and Kayma Chinara, Dira chat the Rice Clare for David Clifford and Lee Roger and Tiva and Fark August Allah's a Lergus which able to pass Cren Jericho score Fricker across Jack August Lena Kitogan Shin Jericho Jacks a Lintan August Tiva stayed a Womacha Tan Barna Ardy here reached August Kai Better Demi Macalean Vex Muncher er Hataki Mart Tashi Kroga Golgover Goban I Hiri Ak Tashid a Drublage Cartanish August David Clifford at Janu 4 War and Damastion Shaw.
Well, the Master Fad and Iri August Martin the Lewis had a ta Dara Rafferty a dull sheer nor vin Nero to get Kerry ach nie fadig Clifford the Hashe ach het hulle stag en mail en goel August nie en de gommer na verleen job kintelligent job Sanul beter ach the hound Shachas Taku beter le McCluskey.
Well, Thomas Love Valley Frasian Kid Lahan Shagas, Damian Macalean Smoinchu Aaron Tivlin shot 3 cool Ligas Jack I got Aaron G Shaw near Emershid le Costentors of Resh Tilim Badger and
Shigri Larkin McWilliams and Lechen La Jar nach Kenafushach Kauno Nimmert Hukin o Chicken the Sire August Tashe Pruch the Rish and good lach get Kirigus or the Heleshka Sean O'Leary. Barry Mahninish o Chuman Nef Shannon agus Clifford o Ossa Shan Farsa Tá Cormich Diver Sevar Council Mata Anard Godot ach Koche Kerkroach Bullybug Dienach agus for Reilige.
Well, our lad has in Gardenia ton.
Batuna on Gickamach Jack Griffin Cool agus Paint and Law Dermach agus Bavronton is Carta Shin agus Begaboil Gurach Fan Groch and for Reile.
Agus ní féidir Dara Brontonus mar sin a bhronnú ar chéirí tá siad a Janu go leor láfa héan ach a ríist eile na tacticí tá ag Dara na sé an moment tá siad faoihrú an tamar fad tá ommarcha sin spás os Cora Clifford agus in a riera caihí siad ar leiad cruúlaimsú rivlaham mar tá siad faoihrú agus faoihrú ceart an seo.
Carú canis na héir na gábhíl sa trídíag tíró in an dearnach a bhuaig Kerry and Rod na miniúr. Na áirasach fé a láir na óire tá siad scun scan an uachtar lína lán tosig ghuire. Stechan sa ríist Clifford lena Yasog an Bautasa agus an Brata Hardach a stig 3 ceart.
Ach a ríist eile thosaí an gluiseach sin le ón lína landthosa a landchulaí ag brisú amach tá siad abalta an pás a thuirt Higgin far ceart san áid ceart leis an dhéisiúg an tam seo agus muid ag trachtarach ar chluthe in amantí ní bhíonn tú géirí bheith lóirt fan duine céarna an tamar fad agus tá sé Jackar sa cá seo in amantí caiú sí siar agus solta bhaint as taismidas David Clifford.
Láir na óire tá Kerry ar a gúmpóir an agus tá óm agus spás agus na chéine Fiechan Keha Gluiseach sé an ferris mó Gluiseach a stig há sé sin chohelíonnta agus é á bhla ar nós cumulum.
Díreach é pás ísio leis Jack ní ró sé go raibh orasta ach cheantaí sé a ríist ar an chéadóg dríochta sin
le cléthe tá chóthoscailte. Fuisteach Donna Sullivan a gháin le pelle sin agus seo fearrailig bhfuil tuirt agus tíag arán steach a droi Clifford tá bailón go muin fí ramsa chasalíon tá na ríist an sa Painte.
Ach a ríist eile cadas féidir le Conor McCluskey anú beidir daithead slad os a córan sin neart spáis pás isteach agus far có láidir agus có habalta has a tá.
Miller dúsin san agus arásús fan Barcanis Sean O'Leary stechan sa agus buirtisteach agus buirte Harris an trasnáin go dílar fadan san i Getón le Sullivan.
Scórínta eile an sin ó Sullivan ach a ríist eile ón cic amach tá fáibh deire leis an cic amach seo níl duine bí a lárna parca eile abalta a healamh héan ó winch agus tá siad a gol go garage an tam seo tactic cliste mar tá gacrod bunse ag Kerry a lárna parca agus tugann sé ardan den ar an golar an onsaí.
Cúig neomad do marsin na dul go le Hammond sa chléir Canis agus Ben McCarran a gúmpar na pelle de ghuire a charíis gan Paoine tarlún plastig da. Paddy Quig tá an oberbaile dianta ga Kerry ar Quig fear bhí anna eceálach ar fad sa chléir le Canis Richie Mullen an dála cíana trastan sa Martin Bradley Chunla Canana Yenavin Sona get Kean Gamel Quig agus is Kinte gur Kination Gent to get Peter Keane Gamel home Dunlina Lawn Huligs Choramach agus Chunna Choranation Moela Goham Lawn Ach Shahunish a Briar Gown Ard Ach Lacker Henus Dunya last year agus Dunya Fair Le Brisha. Fighting sign cool Blues Ben Nachashin and the Zvarachta Barna Arde Buntamach get Quiga Helta Kuchte. Open sheer wie koeigers te verlachen. Richie Mullen maar tages painte about. Anna Yasser fout. Acht de painte takema.
Ja, scoring tak an Sheno Mullen Erda Ketto ak a reached alla Arker Shen Shesher Shachter Emmer Hiri Harter McWilliams agus Gary Bidger no Quiga Gary and Coolshin Aimshu. Oberna Gapel Janta Kerry Kahi to Shinara Gahariha and Mas na Elarna Parka August na Coolian Shin Tajid Harave Lewis for Harave larger August Tashid occur Dera Fuivru and Hammerfad.
Shot a freely din of a dealinish on Unumar Lahossi Lord a Glushach the Mach Shachun Jack Griffin Fair Kuragadas again Agus Butchistach Agus will it turn the point to fight again Kogadain.
Scoring Takala reached Fragger than Sky O'Keary cooling Fightcha Agdera Tavasti the throw second cooling Ella Fightcha Kerry Agus Wallace look at Tana Tossiha Hera Fuivru and Tamerfad Ian Nur Angel Leroy's to Birch Truer Carher Harder who a Wallach to fear a goal a draw and Ernella Kaitu Ruddy a Wasku Suez go punch Agus Neil Shin Janta Agdera Gajisha Hardaby.
Donald Sullivan and Ross is Agus Todd Barn but to again. Agus the Machgirho again Kerry la cool vers took a cool better.
Yeah, Lach Jans the Coolella nor Garcia Jackal Megroshe Ax Muche van Coulshin ak Runche Rod Kyart Kielwer Khonishe Clarence score a goal ak Harshe Haran Tras and
Shot that seeking the 55 get Donald O'Sullivan so Shachunish Connor Quinn of Valachi
and Shin Vages na Sua like Liggins cooling a Stia Kaishid Curleshinish 3 cooling Kera cooling the Curlakila Agus and Shin Bejer and Coolshin I'm sure Nive was Sugat Akajisha Hossi and Dardala Jirak Mara Cretny and Kiedla Bariak Squash Akiri Bariak Ama Eg Aleheads de O'Sullivan Agus Griffin Gajisha.
Hikmach Talkinson Agus Barna Waffing to Diagarist there in the foreign Shaw Lord the Hoodach Kalma Butte Son Iron Son. You get that Raffley stolen the Rinne, Agus Mark McGrogan. Fastigly Callum Brown, Far Rehin, Lorna Parker's was the Hana. Then a mail to get and pass live a tucker. Agus Visha, a guest to get there out to Nash to Callum Brown, Farnafilach Dirich, Shach me in the Diag, their couple of law news. Mention me in Iraq or her. Agus O'Sullivan reached Far Larger Asklach. Stachan Tuggy Jack Griffin. Fiachre Clifford, dat gaan Dorison Iete er. Shelif Kimata Mata. Van Henry en de David Clifford zich losgecht. Jack Griffin en de vrouw zich gewoon 6 dagen te zeggen. Hier hoe ik het tot nu het wacht is gebleven zo daar en skelig. Lokaal mensen en get Paddy Quigg. Agus ta oversparsen zo get Callum Brown. Farma Sacker Lesh. Hier in de Limpvilla geen Ross geen Keen. En Mo Dierig gegeven gewoon niet. Machdi, Locker McWilliams and Glihan, a Dirigwai Lashtig, the Patrick Warnach, Haswarn and Fota, and Council Meher, Fori, the Stolum, Pahansa.
Well, it's more true, Shin, Mar Hostishe raced la.
Toch again Leveil, so. Swishton Luke Titimer Lag, again, Buy and the Mirodi, Mavian Rudi Dolan Guinea. Agus Shimmer Ha, get there Michael Patz, a Queble Clifford, Achef, Fiachan Baltasa, and I go Agus another heck of hauling. Kinif Shan Cown on Tarnacooliga.
Tarnacoola race daga a Crohia race down. Na pass na Kusha and Shin Marakamich race day. Agus and pass live a Toga Jirak against second card. Faker Clifford, Kanishe, Renshade Rudcard, Kanishe Ishale, Garcia Stacker, a Hitog, Jirak a Stack Sakunia Agus, and I rear every and Lewis a darn Arash Akal the Erandrohur.
See cool dear get Kerry Savachtas Lena. Sheo Clehaka. Wordt die tegen Son, Agus aan een goede in de vaart en Son. Ik Farlar Park, O'Shea McWilliams.
Scorani as and Sheno McWilliams, Jirak on kick a mark. Ach a ristella Nilore Larbiella. But score Intake ach Neil more on the yesh na cool crohia ag dira better nishavrian Marta cool like Tashaluhu.
Fiú go bhainte sin dulta na gcuine ach gan dótá chla.
Curtha her an trasan go forrasta aige ach an tam seo curtha fórin.
Pas dasige Declan Cassidy stachansa chofad le Larkin McWilliams. Ceann an ard agus annach a bháil go dó ge Brown and Son kick éidecha siúrálta glan agus tá sé ábhronna is Stoilm McAnthony Nolan ach má bhí mé de caiintear na hastrálaigh eile héad de gramú ag Callum Brown.
Sara gamur a fad an sin san air far more larger mar aga much a race agus Chris O'Donoghue goal shocker Neil she larger glor on leader of Russia agus Neil Garan she Jack Archer and Yardworth Tasha and Roche Tavis Deed and Waxa Marahagan and Coolbar Mac V a Jaron Rachor Anthony Nolan agus Jesh Ella Deranish Kaihi Shid and Coolshaw I'm sure and kick Erica Shaw.
Agus Curtamar Chúram Paddy Quigg an chic éidecha seo a thógant agus Davidus Josas istigh sa chúl. Seansaige duine crutníos bharach ar chórsaí agus bhfuil de chuig an báideoirín tó ceart ach tá cúil aimsethe.
Run sé bhil ceart rion chuine sé éise le agus cé an neathaí Josas an bhela ceart chláinní sé hééis faoin na harpan sin agus is Jack sa líontán agus leid tugann sé inspraid nó spread a cinenne légan den ar an óg seo gar mar is áit uagneach go leor tá an crocaín ar nachhfuil rud é gola a thu.
An ard an an láidir stachadí Clifford an fell á preba go dtíar fad a gcecht a bhfuil san an cúile agus a thuirnis. Susan sa Joy Clifford in I knowin an dorna bheitha chuir a bheras ar líróide gan na chéile córic tóca gan éon strain féin spéidir brethir David Clifford an peinte tóca ge Brian Friel.
Well an rud a dhéanaan Brown ag tíomhhain an farc Jan Clifford early ag an tíomhheile an tam seo mar dúirtmuid na imreoir Santa Fe ar Horabí bhí an spás cruthe ag
Duine den gahar a bhí ann an nuirigach tá Martin Bradley Trish Mark eile hógantach gan éon bhíl ar chuide. Mark McWilliams Bucca amach go láin na Parkins a thir Bucca isteach Stoilm amach Callum Brown mar spreoch a ríiste agus tá Bert ina chuineach tá sé buite a ríistige seansail ar chóil Sara go díal ag Davidus Josas a stig ach tá sé go díal a bheith féchad ar leid lán do bhaín ar chuma Callum Brown.
Ja agus an tactic here na gobar agus fléimid sin rivan clé agus luas a ciad le a tíana na roise de caiú líróid nó gás Jack.
Ag Mark McWilliams Droicheann mátá agus is beag seansa bhí ge Callum Brown ach tá kicks ar mélt aige.
A rééis eile an far sin a gobar go maiid an isibhríon.
Well sin punt an kicks ar tugus ar éigen chúil ag an réiteoir agus tá sé tucha fé chúil agus bhí stíl leis ciúlaige a túirt fé sin agus ní mór ná go mer sé mó ar na ciaríigach níor gin ach a caintear Callum Brown bhí daine rárinn seachna go cimeadach don bhirne déanach nó onsci gréoch nódíiste imiróirí mór láidrach pescéile feite ge Clifford búte siúr a ge siúd Donal O'Sullivan a ríist ar éigen chúil agus tá sé sin ar dheis agus ar fóríl Jordan Son agus neidir an íonó cáid beidir a tháinig slach chum eile hennar deile ar chuide David Clifford gan dát. Ach ní siad lecham as bhí sa chluithe le cheannis seolta teach a Joy Clifford gafa go díal san airige sin éon tríú ceann críochtathe Mescune Shanta ach passáling isteach.
Dá Christ ar fad níl an críochhach mar glúiseach Archer an passion le cúisna bruga tóiste go híntaach an sin an prabhug a croí spás dá híon mar a eicimiide a gáil go hard san air a bhíon an prabhug sin agus chláinní sé díreach híos faoi mar grogan agus hartan an cúlbeir teach amach a leitheid de críoch an sin rialt óga pela gan íon airas ar bí.
3-3 ag Clifford agus gachéin scór chomáile na chéile an éfachtach a mu féin Barketson a ríist áma ge fiochan cétáistigach tá neart an fell a hómpur a lap a bháinige stechansa feite ge Donal O'Sullivan a dul stechan dón chúil agus deis fós ag Clifford agus capas go bhain pas gafa leistíir do Ach, tá sé seachas bhfuil lead mór I gimmert I measc daoine óga na bechan bhreachir.
Well, in I rear rain neil le focail logam le cur síar seo mar haismantas a réist eile crothe ag Donal O'Sullivan. Gar sé isteach, thug sé an pass beirdir tíosa bug róháil ach nar hit sé chun talú. Bhí Clifford cliste go leir chun tiontu isteach ar an chiatóg dréachta sin a réis agus curtha isteach sa líontan an ceathair chuil fáilte aige. Dearthain go raibh sé ag bringloid mar seo a réir a bhríon a leithis de haismantas.
No, bhí a caint agus tá an fersa chófórsúile hen agus fríl ón deimhmo a meala cosantóirí Clifford leistigh agus é ina chríochnóir crunta agus ceanile Harris a drastáin an son fríl a trusa.
Scóraíntach eile agus níl meidir rá nach bhfuil na tosaí eile go hintach ag Kerry tag a cinse a leithid de Friel O'Sullivan a Jimmer Harbar aniu Faker Clifford Jack Griff.
Trastan na parke, chofad le Adam Donoghue. Adam fáid na pelle haar nationsa, Donoghue O'Sullivan na ferh le pass. Ach tá a féinte tácan son ag Adam Donoghue.
Agus de grab rian ag an fointe seo ní bhfuirte le gol de grab bíon siad bin an airan sásta an líthir a cynnealt agus é bhga ó híomh go taobh ach ní sin mar imríonn siad pell hís a géirí tá siad a géirí níos mó scór aimimsú, níos mó coolín, níos mó chúil stíl dochráid acu agus na himirí ar fad a leithis de hacail an sin.
An soort san Brian a fan at Tranón is longer bit Jimmy de Connor Vion on Boutason. Shochun Donoghue O'Sullivan and Ishagus Friedrich Friel Lashtig. Donoghue O'Sullivan of Wolason Istach an order Fadachta an a chum good do Shin agus Beshel Roga Gresha Chlara scored. But Istach get shoot agus Jesson so Chul Elle agus O'Reilly ach pluck to Godiliga Harton. Báidóirí déanamh a chólam go slachtmhar an son.
Sábháil ionach an sin agus bula bos fáilte aige mar tá an cléir seo cinneal naireach de gur ag an fointe seo tá sé imithe ó smacht go thulas go thomláin agus mar a dúirt muid hana tá sé le bhád níos fearr na seo tá Jimmer sé cléad an céad tú ach ar an lá bhí Kerry ó bhád roihaid a gur beidir go raibh an deis an beirt nó trúr a chur siar ach ní leor an é riire agus bhí an cumar an scéal go raibh an bua go le bheith a gcónaí ag Kerry aniu.
Se ráfaitas fé de bharna an is an stolim ag an sochain is tá Ryan O'Neill. Búirtisteach a ríist Clifford tucha sé chiatóig a haláfa agus an ceann san seoltaisteach leistigh don gúile ná hir ina dhéag sethe mar felladóir.
Well, if you're be a cheannaí teigid nó a fuair teigid aniu ní dóilm go ngeannaí siad dearmad híthe ar an taismna seo ó David Clifford an dóir gar sé isteach an sin ar a chiató agus an stíl imirtha aige tá sé cos le far óga gimmart sa gardín sa bhaile bunan sé ansult ar fad as an cluthe tána buanna a lig aige ar a tholaige mar a dúirtmuid maithaí am trúd a Conor McCluskey agus in St. Darnla McGrogan ní bhuair siad íon chuidú ar crocaín ar náhfuil rudí ag gáil idirrá.
Anna gháil in sanna Gary Horn de Kerry, shot to tackle Larsley, agus order go díirlige Friel, sásta le pointe, sé díog, clára ge Kerry gluthe canis na héireann, gasceann hénig.
A bhí stella an rud ceart cíalhar deanta ag Friel, leithheans de cúil an sin aige ach leis an citóg an tam sin chuir sé thar an trás na é agus muid an am chuiteh an is a bhríon agus an rás rite ar an drothúir ag deire.
Seo amach go láir na park agus tá muinte Kerry go bhónis chu dul mal cheúach tá ferchuid treéis titim go túthalach an son anna gháil snar a baige ó sí me anar a ge leis Callum Brown ar na leabharige Linfield san sacr ardam ar sacr sethe seach go chuig agus é búirtisteach ag siúd Harris an trasna an héna hochtain is go.
Scór deas an sin ag chuig ag a ríist eile an pás fada isteach sin buinte go láidir snéir ag Callum Brown agus Damien McAlean aniu a lá dearnach mar bhainisteúir na minúir ag deire agus an tostas mó secundi aige a Seanach as Doilem híon beidir go méise ag smuintear le de Callum Brown agus Quig agus na rire an tríar na hanig tríd le chéile.
Se chun Kerry agus tá siad thóir cúir éisteach a dul de bhaicil stataí smachta cíimead go bhéidir bheith chomhfadasa chun tosaigh agus chomhúntaach.
Díreach é, ní Doilem go bhacha duine bí seo ag teacht, híl gatain go méo cluthe chom agus beidir go mé an bua ag Kerry mar aimsíonn siad cúlín first a jazz eile ach a leihéid de haismtas mar bhainistear níl ruderbí níos fearr ná nuair a imríonn de aran bhhar a gomas an lás mó agus sin díreach an rud a deanta ag fur an Peter Keenanú Jimmar siad thbar ar fad an lá is táhachtaí sa bblion.
Paint dénach aige Eddie Horn beidir sa chla ceanna seo an nádas na Frachanson le fear Kerry agus Michael O'Leary. Dúirt aige níl a sá go fólacha. Stechan sa Lorsley, donna chu Sullivan agus ceannach rathóid decreachtaí beidir nach fóríl Derry hir. Agus ní fadaháile dolanis nó gur féad le muinte Kerry ceúra a dhéanamh cheanta haspáanta sí cinnte na mblianta agus tanóna hí Donla Sullivan leis aus agus Brian Frail ach ó ceann na parke bíad Kerry na máistrí tá cheiricín as a chéile buirteá in rád na manúr an cheadú riamh sin dianta agus an cúiú craibh díag trí chéile agus Mark bíidir aus tanóna.
Aus ar fad, níl le leihéid de haismnas feici ógam thar seas go bommate le blianta fada nuas a bhríon in ahan lína an fáic bhí siad chun cin ar ghuire. Maithí am túir a Damien McArlean ar immer siad a nniu a Harabí ach in ammantaí caiadú sí siar agus a rá gur ó fearn níos fearr ag immert a dhéann an lá. Cogardas allhór de Peter Keane agus a Arano Kerry agus tá an taithe geall sa condí sin a rís gan aonaras.
Se agus bhfuil dario sé tá sé hénig sásta chuma a bhí déanach. Bhí mé háladón le chun na ceiste riimiise le an bí mí fantáiste de Kerry go ráidir put chluí go pó.
Na himmartha captain Kerry le cahar in Jobh sin David Clifford. David, cóhardachas, I'm sure when you were thinking about this match during the week, you couldn't have in your wildest dreams have expected it to go so well for Kerry. Congratulations, how do you feel?
Words can't actually describe it, to be honest about it. I don't have a clue what to say. Like, I suppose we knew we were going to get a tough test from Derry. We were probably in fear of them, if anything, like, but I suppose we trusted ourselves. Peter and them had great faith in us, and we knew we had great faith in them. So I suppose a final was all about putting a performance in. I think everyone can see that's exactly what we did. So.
And a special day for Kerry for the first ever time, a 4 in a row in the last ever grade at under 18. Makes it a little bit more special, I'd imagine.
It does, yeah. I suppose, as I said after the semi-final, like, I suppose it's some fellas' first medal and me and a few other fellas' second medal. I suppose that's what kind of brought back the hunger for us. If you know, 4 in a row, obviously it was a massive thing for the people of Kerry and all that, but to us it was just about this group, and thankfully we got over the line.
And when you were coming up to Dublin yesterday evening and you were thinking in your head, how is this going to go for me personally, could you ever have thought you'd finish up the game with 4-4?
No, I suppose we were actually expecting a more defensive kind of setup from Derry, but I don't know, maybe it's a good thing that they didn't do it, I don't know.
Cóhardachas le David Clifford leach na himmarthain seo tránóna Jobh agus Pat O'Doherty ar cheann ESB agus Electric Ireland of Running Gradam leach na himmartha David.
David Clifford san iad a súil gomach beidir curchaig in níos a chosantaí.
Leach na himmartha agus captain na fórne as club na Fossa David Clifford.
Well, Anna has prompted Skado again Varok, so agus Anna Chash Cadent again minus 2 Choma. Agus Fuichivan on the Hennig the Tommy Griffin in Ish. Blianada, nach Blianer Evra Erta Kinte. Agus Maratharat, Anna and again count the Haspanta she Kinte. Next the spot she's far took a Grief, a bark, a rockig, loch like Caniston maneuver.
Ag Damien McAlean as an Erin Shin, Hannig she trades like Yella, Chucky she arrived, Tashi and Nish. Mar Kappa nua mar Wanisher Hensher gara agus sílim go bheice méid a rístiad beidir ag an level is arja to Oberla Janu ag Jim and Doan there and you Akanamanti being two gimmers tonight earn these fires the furnace fire Kerry.
Okay, but Tom Bannister book or Peter Keane Geistach Peter Cohordas Peter, I mean, some performance, you must be just delighted with the way everything went for you today.
Yeah, we're very happy with the way it turned out. We came here to win, and win we did, so we'll go home happy.
And the style you did it, I mean, you probably were able to enjoy it. It isn't often the manager can stand on the sideline and, I suppose, be to a certain level in awe of what he's seeing in front of him.
Well, I suppose, look, we set out over the last 2 years to play a certain style of football and head up football and use the space, and you know, I think in the 2 victories we've had last year and this year, we've done that.
Now that we've got all the congratulations and the preliminaries out of the way, Peter, there is only one question that'll be on the minds of Kerry people. Where's David Clifford going to be this time next year?
You're right, I think there's a lot of talk about that, you know, sure, it's only idle speculation. There's people talking about that all year. David Clifford will be here, and I don't worry about that at all.
So he's got no danger at all of Australian clubs coming sniffing, looking and asking and maybe achieving the goal they have of getting him to go across to Australia.
I think there's more talk about that than anything else.
All right, okay, well, let's hope that that's the way that it works out. I want to ask you, have you ever seen a minor performance like that which David gave today? Four goals, 4 points, and created a bunch of other scores for his teammates.
He was fantastic, and look, he's some talent, and has been that way both last year and this year for us. Playing awesome. A lot of people would compare him to Maurice Fitzgerald. I suppose I had first-hand experience of Maurice. We grew up together below Carsevine. I would say he's actually ahead of Maurice at this stage in his development because for 2 reasons. One, I suppose there's more strength and conditioning going on today than there was then, and secondly, he's played in a school team who have gone on and won Hogan Cups and played at a much higher standard. So, like, if you take Maurice played in '88 in an Ireland or in a Munster final when he was the same age as David is today, you know, so Maurice was a December child and this guy is a January child.
All right, I'm joined here in the sideline by Mark Hart and Aidan McCarroll. Aidan's a question for you.
Peter, first of all, congratulations, fantastic performance. I think one of the most complete performances I've ever seen in Croke Park. You must be delighted with the way the backs played today. There was a huge improvement from the Cavan game.
There was a huge improvement. I thought we played outstanding against Clare defensively as well in the Munster final. But look, there was no question about it. In the Cavan game, with high balls going in, we did not have big guys. Like last year we won in All-Ireland, 4 of our 6 forwards last year were over 6 foot. We'd only about 3 fellas over 6 foot in the whole team this year. We just didn't have them, so we had to make things up as we went along. And I suppose, look, that's where the work myself and Tommy Griffin and James Foley have done, and we got that out of them. And I think the strength and conditioning for fellas who weren't so big, we got plenty of strength into them through Chris Flannery and Podge Murphy.
Well, Peter, it just sounds like the party's kicking off behind you there. We'll let you go back to that Cohordas lad.
There's plenty of action going on there, right, Michal. Go ahead, Mila, lads.
All right, fair play. Okay, so Trace Leamy.
Whether it was 1, like you said, or whether, I don't even know what the final score was, whatever it was, but we're glad we won. It was something we could see in the training ground over the last couple of weeks, that these guys were really coming to a pitch, and come to the pitch they did today, you know.
I suppose we felt all along that if we were going to beat them, we were going to have to come at them, and for them to get the goal within 17 seconds, I think it was, you know, it sort of meant you're coming out and going at them. And to say David Clifford is exceptional, and he was actually on form today, which makes it even worse.
And the Kerry captain, David Clifford, lifted the Tommy Markham Cup after this, the final All-Ireland Minor Championship football final.
At under-18 level. Well, look, let's give credit to Derry for reaching the final, but this is an exceptional Kerry team, Kevin. I mean, it's an unfortunate scoreline almost in the final, 6-17 to 1-8.
Yeah, but you have to flip it and just look at the positives in terms of the Kerry display. I guess the last one at this age group, and if it was, my God, did the sign off in style. And I suppose the thing I was looking back on is that they had this pressure all year. They were, you know, from the get-go, they were the favourites to win it. They were the favourites to win it comprehensively, and they didn't disappoint. I saw them against Cavan in the semi-final, and I saw them today, obviously. And even though David Clifford stole the show and got the 4 goals, like the one that stood out for me was, you know, it shows the team playing ability. As that Kit Dog pass to Fikra, the 3rd goal I think it was, a magnificent pass, cut out, you know, one bounce into his paw, back of the net. Magnificent display. I feel obviously it feels sorry for Derry because 6 goals completely destabilise every effort you have at trying to create. Yeah, I look, Tomas. I think if you went 4 on Clifford, it would have made no odds. I mean, he was unmarkable and has been in all the games I've seen him. I used to see some of the highlights during the week on TG Carr of their Munster campaign, and he was just scoring for fun. Like 24-point win in an All-Ireland final where the 2 best teams have somehow merged to get to the final, and you can still win by 24 points, shows how special they were.
It's unusual. Even before this year's minor championship from Ross, David Clifford is kind of a household name in GA houses. Everyone knew him before this year even.
He's a very, very special talent, one of the best minors I've ever seen in my life. Des, he's played 12 championship matches in 2 years, 10.68 he scored in those games, 10.50 from play, 4-4 today. He's an absolute outstanding footballer, and it's not only him, and he'll be the first to acknowledge it, he's captain and all that, but there are some brilliant footballers. Peter Keane has done great work in all the underage systems in Kerry. I saw this guy playing down in Cork, that's a great catch, and he made a similar catch last year in an All-Ireland final to create a goal. I've seen this, he played against Cork and I watched him in the flesh, and he reminds you of a young Maurice Fitzgerald, the Gatch, of him walking around and running around. This ball here is absolutely delightful.
That's the one, that's what I was talking
straight
about.
in and into the corner. I watched him against Cork, and Cork had a good minor team, and he kicked 2-8, 2-5 from play down in Park again. So it's not just today, and it's not if Derry didn't see this coming down the tracks. This man has been on the radar for now. This tweet here, I don't mind. Look, if David Clifford gets offered, you would never stand in the guy's way of going out to Australia. I don't understand why they're tweeting about it though. It's if the guy goes, he goes, but he is one of the best talents we have. He's trying to get him down, but it's
his friend Tig doing that.
It's key. I don't know who's driving it, but I mean, this is a guy apparently who the AFL haven't tapped up yet. The AFL are tweeting about this guy tonight that he wins in All Ireland and writing articles about him and so forth. There obviously is interest out there. I hope. Obviously for the good of Kerry football he stays at home, but you can't force a young fella to stay at home. He needs to want to stay at home. I hope he does, because there is all these four in a row days is history. It's unbelievable. I just hope that it transfers, and that's just going to, it doesn't mean we're going to have a great senior team, but I hope we get.
The funny thing is that the defenders, there's very good defenders and midfielders on this Kerry team, by the way. It's not all just, but these guys have stolen the show.
They're a good footballing team, and the brand of football they play. It's very like the Dubs, actually. They just play through the lines, they kick as much as they can, and the old standards of football they're an unbelievable, skillful team.
Yeah, I met the granny of Barry Mahoney after she was the happiest woman in the place, but that's, by the way, they are a great team. That stat is the stat of the season for me. Did you say 10 goals and 50 points from play by David Clifford in 2 seasons?
2 seasons, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He's decent.
It's not bad. Time for a break then here on the show, but first,